In Management Matters, the Community Cybersecurity Initiative. This month, ACT-IAC will crowdsource insights with a very specific goal in mind, dramatically improving government security posture. The program follows a devastating cyber attack on the Office of Personnel Management and a 30-day cyber sprint by the White House. For more, I'm joined by Dave McClure, Chief Strategist of Veris Group, Executive Vice Chair of IAC, and former GSA Associate Administrator. He won FCW's prestigious Eagle Award in 2012. Dave, we've got a lot of ground to cover. Let's start with the cyber sprint. Federal Chief Information Officer Tony Scott says, quote, "One of the most significant steps any organization can take is requiring the use of hardware-based personal identity verification card or an alternative form of strong authentication." Scott says during the cyber sprint, federal civilian agencies increased the use of strong authentication from 42% to 72%. That's a big improvement, but it's also cause for concern. What do you make of the cyber sprint results?
Well, I think the results are promising in that federal agencies are stepping up and taking some much needed actions to improve their security. However, once again, these are fundamental things that really should have been put in place prior to the capturing of the incident in real time. So that's the concern I think the community has, is how can we accelerate the adoption of just basic fundamental security principles into the government agencies.
Tony Scott also made a plea for more funding. He asked Congress to lift sequestration. He also asked them to pass the president's 2016 budget request. It would increase cyber spending by 11%, or $1.4 billion. Is more funding the answer here, Dave?
Well, security is resource starved. It's just like everything else in the federal government. With sequestration and with budget cutbacks, security is usually one of the areas that also suffers. So I think we're going to see a strong period of critical investment in security, both in people, tools, as well as assistance from the private sector, in order to get this back on track and to get the kind of energy that's needed behind it to make a difference.
ACT-IAC will pick up where OMB left off. Tell us about the Cybersecurity Innovative Initiative.
This is a very interesting initiative that we've launched out of ACT-IAC. It's an ideation platform where we're inviting both industry and government to submit their ideas for ways in which we can fundamentally improve the security posture of the federal government. And the suggestions can range from just simple vulnerability assessment tools, to risk management procedures, to authentication technologies, to risk management approaches. We've come up with quite an array of topical areas that we're seeking input on from both industry and government.
Do you think the innovation initiative is long overdue?
I think it is. We collectively, as both public and private sector partners, can, I think, pour more energy into this than as single entities or single organizations. So we're hopeful that the creation of a dialogue and the vetting of a lot of different great ideas can make those that really could make a difference, short-term and long-term, surface to the top.
Now, Dave, you spent nearly 3 decades in government. Quantify the cyber problem for us. Is it the most significant challenge in the history of federal IT?
It is definitely a significant challenge for lots of different reasons. First of all, we're in a post-internet age. Security prior to the internet was quite different. It was a perimeter-based defense, whereas today we really have to think offensively and think about being ahead of the adversary rather than catching and reacting the adversary. So I think the conditions are quite different. The skill sets are quite different. The technologies are always evolving, and we're struggling to stay ahead of both cyber criminals as well as nation states that are acting against the U.S.
I want to mention the results of ACT-IAC's Cybersecurity Innovation Initiative will be presented to the Federal CIO Council on September 30th. Dave McClure, Executive Vice Chair of IAC, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Morris.